This is the Week 2 lecture, Part 1, and in this part we're going to cover the emergency manager and crisis and leadership. We know that so-called emergency management has been taking place from the beginning. Where there was an emergency to be managed, people banded together to overcome the adversity, regardless of the type of disaster. Whether it was natural, such as the tsunami in the Indian Ocean in 2004, or man-made but accidental, such as the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in 2011, or completely intentional, such as the terror attacks of 9/11. People rise up to help others, like this woman helping others to escape the tsunami, or help others survive radiation exposure, or even help them recover from the devastation. It isn't the practice of managing emergencies that is a recent phenomenon, but the role of government in the process and the formalization of the discipline that have caused it to look considerably different than it did just a couple decades ago. FEMA has an interesting interactive timeline at the link I've posted right down here at the bottom that shows a number of events that contributed to the evolution of the office and roles and responsibility of the contemporary emergency manager. If you have time, you should check that out. As emergency management took on a more defined role, an official definition for emergency management was established by the International Association of Emergency Managers. You'll notice that emergency management is about systematizing, or as they put it, creating a framework for the purpose of reducing the consequence of disasters and becoming more resilient. The job of the emergency manager is to bring some structure and sense to handling crises so it isn't as bad as it could have been. That said, what is noticeably absent from more evolved and now codified version of contemporary emergency management is a definition for the emergency manager. There is no archetype that serves as the model for all nation, state, tribal, and local emergency managers. In fact, some are tasked with fulfilling the duties as a part-time assignment along with their regular duties, and others are full-time emergency managers with an actual staff. Some are situated as a standalone office, where others are attached exclusively or primarily to the fire or police department. Some carry actual decision-making authority in and of themselves, and others serve solely in an advisory capacity. In any case, the strategic responsibilities and the operational tasks for emergency managers are more clearly outlined than the actual position that they fill. I'm going to touch on crises and leadership now. And at a minimum, we know that an emergency manager, by definition, is involved in emergencies or crises and management or leadership. So according to Merriam-Webster, an emergency is an unforeseen combination of circumstances or the resulting state that calls for immediate action. And a crisis, according to an article in the Leadership Quarterly, is a situation that threatens high-priority goals, which suddenly occurs with little or no response time available. In the book, The Politics of Crisis Management, it reads, "Our definition of crisis reflects its subjective nature as a construed threat. We speak of a crisis when policymakers experience a serious threat to the basic structures, the fundamental values and norms of a system, which under time, pressure, and highly uncertain circumstances necessitates making vital decisions." Now, there's no need to memorize each of these definitions, and to a certain extent, we all know what an emergency is. However, I believe it is helpful to point out some of the similarities among these definitions. So, returning to the definitions, note that emergencies or crises are unexpected events that call for immediate action. In other words, no one saw it coming, but decisions must be made without delay. Likewise, this definition notes the time pressure, the uncertain, or in this case unforeseen, circumstances that necessitate those vital decisions. And so it is that being an emergency manager is about being prepared to make timely decisions in the face of unexpected threats. Of course, we know that one does not simply walk into the emergency manager's office and begin making timely decisions in the face of unexpected threats. It requires significant preparation, and that is successfully put into action with, well, quality leadership. No emergency manager can succeed without skilled leadership. Leadership is essential to the role of the emergency manager, and without it, plans fail. And for that matter, decision-making fails. So allow me to demonstrate what leadership, as it relates to emergency managers, is not. What it is not is what may be referred to as heroic leadership. The heroic leader is responsible for the successful outcome of the crisis, regardless of its severity. It is the traditional all-American form of viewing leadership, where subordinates to the leader look to their mythic or heroic leader in anticipation of strong, decisive guidance that will carry them to victory. The heroic leader has the answers and is not afraid to put them to work. And of course, Hollywood does an excellent job of perpetuating the image. Allow me to demonstrate. Consider for a moment a current TV show, The Last Ship. The premise is that a pandemic has practically decimated the world, and the lone survivors are aboard this U.S. Navy battleship. Commanding the vessel is the veritable Captain Tom Chandler. Among his more mundane responsibility is, well, actually captaining the enormous vessel and managing the crew. However, when it is necessary for a few people to board a virus-infested cruise ship donning a full level A suit, who is better to lead that group than the captain himself? Perhaps a small contingent must make contact with possible survivors at Guantanamo Bay. Captain Chandler, he's your man. Maybe a small expeditionary force needs to set out on a boat to retrieve some monkeys. Naturally, Captain Chandler is certainly the best choice. Hopefully you're getting my point. The emergency manager is about being as prepared as possible to bring structure to chaos so that the consequences are reduced. They are not the, quote, break in case of emergency, end quote, tool that is applied to solve the crisis and then tucked back away out of sight once the crisis is resolved. Now, I should say, that said, that there is one caveat, that if you do have that hair and that jaw, you can disregard everything I'm talking about, and you are certainly ready to lead. An appropriate quote regarding leadership in emergency management comes from an article written by Annie Pye. She says that the root definition of leadership starts from a dictionary basis where to lead means to guide with reference to action or opinion, to bring by persuasion, to induce to do something. Thus, leading is imbued with the notion of movement, of progress, of transition from one place to another, literally and metaphorically. So real leadership is not about saving the day, but about influencing others, about persuading and inducing others or groups of people to progress, to move forward. A better example of leadership within emergency management would be my friend, Sherry Gibbons. Hi, Sherry. She is the Emergency Management Coordinator for the town of Gilbert. And Sherry's duties include such things as creating and maintaining the emergency operations plan, maintaining a continuity of operations plan. You see, updating the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, the Homeland Security Grant Plan program, and coordinating with Parks and Rec about sheltering, and she hosts tabletop exercises with the water department that have to do with contaminated water supply. All these different things are the pieces that she puts into motion to succeed in her job. The point is that any success that Sherry has enjoyed is because she works time and again to influence, persuade, and induce others to progress. Her job is to move the needle toward greater preparation and to facilitate success when the crises do roll in, and to set public safety leaders that are already in place up for success.